Toastmasters Club, the part of the international net of the speaking clubs all over the world. Actually, there are many such clubs in different countries, about 6,600. So in every big city of the world you can find this club. The main purpose of these clubs is to practice and polish our public speaking skills and leadership also. I'm the president of this club this year, Irina Suvorova, and I'm really glad to see you all, especially newcomers and guests. And we have a special procedure of greetings of the newcomers. And we'd like to know who are you and why are you here. So I would like to invite on this stage our Vice President membership, Adil Tashela, and all newcomers. Please.
We have a please come to stage. Okay, we have a tradition for those who don't know about that. We introduce our new friends, our newcomers. Just 4 easy questions. Please tell us briefly about yourself, but don't forget to tell us your name, your occupation, how do you know about our club, and what is your expectation from this experience. You can start.
Hi, my name is Max. I learned English. I was learning English 4 years later. Sorry. I know about this club from my friends Igor and Evgenia. That's all.
Max, could you do me a favor? Move a little bit.
And everyone else also, please.
18 years old. I'm a student. I have been learning English for 10 years or more. I learned about this club from library site, and I don't know really about my expectations. I'm just interested in what's happening here.
Hello everyone, my name is Anastasia. A few days ago I met my friend and I shared with her that I'm looking for a place where I can practice speaking English, and she recommended me to join this club. I think she was a member of this club once, maybe a few years ago, but I don't remember exactly. And she just recommended me to visit it, to join, and so I'm here. And my expectations is speak English. That's it.
Hello everybody, my name is Nick. I'm creating websites. I found this appointment by Dan Lok Show on YouTube. It's very nice. It's also teach you some selling skills and how to introduce yourself. So here I just a little bit shocked because here on the desk I see 190 meetings before me, so I lost 199 appointments. But I really hope to find here some new interesting life experience, maybe find new friends, and also I very hope to mix it with my job, so that will help me performance my websites, marketing, and some else stuff. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Igor. I'm a geologist. I found out about this club from a friend. I don't have any expectations, just to see how it goes and meet new people.
Hello everyone, my name is Evgenia. Actually, I'm a geologist too, and yeah, I've learned about this club from my friend, from my very close friend. So actually no expectations at all. Actually just like to have some new experience, new life experience. That's all.
Hello, my name is Irina. I know this club with my friend. I know this club absolutely. Мне интересно, вот, хочется узнать побольше о клубе, вот, и понять, что это вообще такое, чем люди занимаются, и чем это может быть полезно для меня.
Hi everyone, my name is Farouk, I'm a student, so I often visit this library, and one day when I came here I showed in the brochure that today is going to be the meeting where we can say something, or I thought that it will be the speaking club, but it's the other thing. And my expectations is this kind of meetings are improve our English level and help us to know something new or meet somebody who is might be interesting, something like this. Thank you.
So welcome to the club. Please have a seat, enjoy the meeting.
Thank you.
Just let me remind you that today is not a standard meeting, today is a contest. So we have a contest twice a year. And some brief information about our club, about Toastmasters system. At the beginning of the meeting I gave you a brochure, some explanation. So for those who did not receive, please join me after the meeting and I will give you. And back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Adin, for the introduction. Thank you to all newcomers. And the most important thing, I think, on this meeting, I almost forget to mention it. Please take your phones and switch on the sounds, or even put it into the flight mode, in order not to distract our speakers, because we are all worrying about our behavior on the stage every time, no matter how much experience we have. And now I invite to the stage the Toastmaster of this evening, Olga Yatsik. Not Olga. I'm sorry, Irmek Taktagul.
My name is Irmek, my name is not Olga. So, we're having a competition today. It's one of the interesting meetings during the year where we compete with each other, trying to choose the best speaker, so he can represent our club in the area competition. So competition, without competition there is no progress, as you know, and we are doing our best when we compete. And the most important competition is with yourself, when you try to improve yourself, to be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. For me personally, regarding the competitions in Toastmasters clubs, I wasn't able to win anything for like 5 years, even a ribbon in the table topic sessions, even the third place when there were only 4 competitors. But after some time I experienced some progress, some results. So we'll be short, and before that we are going to have two speakers, and we are usually there is a team of evaluators who will help to organize the meeting, and today we only have one role of this team, the timer. And the timer of today's meeting is Tanya. Tanya, could you please tell us about your own.
Yes, of course. Hello, I'm a timer today, and I have this thing. I will limit the time for you, and I have 3 sheets. The green one I will show you to the speaker when you have your limit, and your limit is okay, so it's normal. And the next time I will put it like here, and you will see me, the speaker will see me. The next sheet will be yellow sheet. I will show you after 30 seconds, you will finish your limit, so you will understand that you have to finish faster. And this is the red one, the bad color, then it means that you have to finish your speech, and it means that you are in trouble, I think. I think that I'm not the best person for this thing, because sometimes I'm late, every time I'm late, but here I would like to do my best.
Thank you, Tanya. So now we are starting our speech part. The first speaker will be Alina Loginova, and the title of her speech is Traveling as a Way of Life.
Hi everyone, I'm Alina, and I like traveling. Is it normal? Yes. Everybody likes traveling, and when I saw Toastbusters members list, I saw many times this hobby. Do you like traveling? What is your hobby? I like traveling. So you can understand what I mean, and what is it? Is it hobby or not? Maybe it is something that can help you to relax. Maybe it is something that can move you from something to something else. As for me, traveling is... I have beaten all my records this year, because I visited 7 different countries in 9 months, and it's abnormal for me. I do usually 2 or 3 trips per year, but this year I have changed my view on trips, and I understood that I really like this kind of life. Yeah, and if speak about trips, sometimes it's not comfortable, yeah, because, for example, you should wake up early and go to the airport, or sometimes you have just landed at 4 a.m. and in a few hours you should go to your job, and you should keep your team in alert because they have a lot of stress during the day, and you know that physical fatigue can change your behavior. So for me it's very important, because I should inspire my team every day, and I should give them forces to resolve all customers' issues. So yes, but what I understood this year, that even if you have some discomfort from your trips, it doesn't matter, because it gives you more than you lost. And if speak about trips in general, for me, how are you preparing for your trips? Do you use services, travel agencies, or something else? I don't like to use this, because I like to put everything on the map, all points of view, and I put inside my own comments, because I like to plan everything myself, and I want to check everything. So travel, arriving, where I want to go, my relatives or my friends involving in something else. And when I on the place where I go. So I start to check everything again, because I don't like usual tourists places. I like places when you can feel this town, this city, this country, like their soul, maybe, yes. And I like places where I can sit and I can listen to surrounding sounds, and I can feel dialect, regional dialect, for example, yes. And I can check all details what I see around me, and I can see everything: people's faces, birds, I don't know, buildings, etc. And I just put it in my mind and make my own memory about this country, about this city, or something else. And the same one with kitchen. I like to try some unusual and try to find unique places. Oh, oh. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So yes, and in that time I understand that I really love to live in real time, if I can say so. And I remember the first time when I have fallen this bee in real time. It was night, and I have just landed, and I was waiting for my taxi driver, and I just up my head, and I saw night sky with young moon, not like this, but you can imagine, and with airplane that go into land, and it was really simple. It was easy and awesome at the same time, and I understood that I have never paid attention of this, and yeah, it's really you should find out the moment and the result. And I understood that I penetrate this way in my current life. Every day when I open my eyes, I check details. For example, sun shines through my window, or raining sounds, or my amazing morning coffee with its smells, and people in the train, colors of their clothes, I don't know, sounds of train, fallen leaves, and so on and so forth. Yes, and I understood that I really live in this time, and I can check everything around me, and this means that I can travel every day, not in different town, not in different cities, not in different country. In my life, in my usual life, but not a usual life now. And what is the main I wanted to tell you about traveling is the way of life for me. It's that you can put this way in your usual life, and you can feel everything as you can look at this just as first time. And yeah, you just need to find out your way of happiness, and if you can put this way how I feel it in all of my traveling, in my every day, every usual day. So I'm happy every day because I can travel in my current life. So thank you very much.
We're all looking for happiness, and we can experience this every day in any place. So the next speaker is Irina Suvorova, and the title of the speech is Low Grade Again.
Good evening again. Low grade again. Опять двойка, sorry for my Russian. Do you remember this famous painting of Russian artist Fyodor Reshetnikov? I have remembered this famous painting this April after Toastbusters Spring Conference. I took part in a speech contest. I was really worried about it, prepared for 1 month in advance, got the support of foreign mentors, prepared and over-prepared. Finally, the results were announced. It was second place again. I was crushed. I put on the spot my club, my mentors. I didn't become the best, as this boy from the picture who came home full of shame and the whole family is looking at him with condemnation. Since my childhood, I knew that I will study only with excellent marks, will enroll for the postgraduate courses, and will learn at least 5 languages. Actually, I almost made it come true. I studied well in all disciplines, was enrolled for the postgraduate courses, I got a golden medal in school and a red diploma in the university. Actually, it was harmful for my health. I spent the 3 weeks in the hospital after graduation from the university. But I had never a good student syndrome отличника. My mother has never told me that I should be the best and never abused me for just good, not excellent marks. And maybe that's the reason that I haven't finished my job in learning languages and haven't finished my post-graduation education. Although I even started to learn 6 languages, but I know anyhow only English and Russian, of course. And when I came to Toastmasters, I felt myself lazy and stupid on the club meetings and on the club contest because of my low level of foreign languages and because of what first places were still inaccessible for me. But in other spheres of my life, I have not such complexes. So I decided to analyze why. And firstly, I have read an article about good student syndrome, why it appears and where it leads. Usually, parents of the good student child who always prepares for lessons, gets a higher marks, grades and praises are really lucky and really glad to have such a child. But is it good for this child, really? To be a good student usually means to have a special psychological state. And this child may be, or even very possibly, that he will not be successful in the future comparing to the average students. Statistics say us that average students has more success in the real life. They will become more bright and more quick-witted than excellent student. Moreover, the average student have higher salary expectations if we see on another statistics data. Why? How the syndrome of the good students shows in a professional life. The child who is a good student is sure very often that the most important, not the result, but the work compliance to the definite standard. And he is sure that he is good, then he is doing everything spotlessly. And for example, ex-good student gets a task to do a report. And he started to concentrate on some secondary features, for example, on perfect design of the title page of this report, not on the content itself. As a result, the time of this task implementation becomes longer and longer, and he can even get a penalty from his boss. How to get rid of this perfectionism? There is only one way: to concentrate 100% of your time and energy on the result. So if you suspect that you have a good student syndrome, just follow these rules. Firstly, determine the time required for this task implementation. Afterward, divide it on 3 or even more parts if you have strong syndrome, X. And during this time, T divided on X, spend 100% of your efforts only on this task implementation in order not to distract on other secondary features. Although I haven't good student syndrome, but this advice helps me a lot when I started to remember that I have a paradox. I want to become the best in all my different activities, hobbies, and interests, and I'm distracting on all of them. If I would concentrate, maybe I would be more successful, but only in one thing. In this example with a report, I would do it anyhow, with mistakes, but simultaneously, I would write the speech. As a result, we would have an average report and an average speech, but I would be very glad to combine all my activities together in 1 hour, for example, work and Toastmasters. So now, when I remember my second places and low success in language learning, I immediately recall that all my problems are born from my concentrating. I don't want to concentrate. That's my style of life. I want to be everything and anyhow. And do you have a good student syndrome? Maybe this advice helps you. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina, for your very interesting speech. I totally agree with you. It's rather better. It's better to concentrate on excellence rather than perfection. And do not your state, your happiness should not depend on some external things like grades or places. But still, we have a competition today, and it's getting hotter and hotter. So we're going to have a break, right?
Yes.
So before the competition, we are going to have a short break. So please feel free to get drinks and snacks. And
5 minutes.
5 minutes, yes, break. Let's start our contest. And I would like to tell you about the 100 rubles, please. There is a money box, and you could leave the 100 rubles at the end of the meeting. So let's start our contest, and the contest chair of today's competition is Olga Yacek.
Hello, dear Toastmasters and guests. I'm thrilled to welcome you at this competition. And first of all, I would like to start with announcing our contestants. They are Anna Ilina, Irina Suvorova, Denis Shevchuk, Ivan Samkov, Nikolai Denisenko, Ermek Taktagulov, Alla Aganova, and Alina Loginova. I would like you all to give them a round of applause. Now I say a few words about how this all will go. All the contestants now, but the one who is the first, who is Anna, will leave the room. They will, our sergeant at arms, Evelina Mankirova, welcome her please. She will let our contestants into the room in the following order. Now, when a contestant comes here to the stage, it's very important to welcome them. So, to do it the right way, I would like to rehearse it now. Wait a second. once the judges have filled their ballots, the timers have shown their signs. I say welcome the next contestant, Elvira Mankir. Elvira comes to the stage and you clap. You shake hands and you stop clapping at this moment. It's very important because the speaker, Elvira, wait for a moment. It's very important because the speaker has to hear the question very well. I will announce the question 2 times. So we shake hands again. Then I say Elvira Mankirova. Question, I don't know, what's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of life? Elvira Mankirova. Then the timers start their count of 30 seconds. Right? The speaker can start speaking within these 30 seconds, of course. If not, they wait till the timer show their signs, which will be red sheet of paper. Wonderful. And then the speaker has to start speaking. The speaker has from 1 to 2 minutes. If the speaker speaks less than 1 minute or more than 2.5 minutes, they are disqualified. We have timers who keep track of that. We also have a team of our judicial team. Our chief judge is Anna Soltes. Please welcome her. And she has a team of secret judges. Anna, please tell me, have all the judges been instructed and briefed?
Yes, all judges, timers and counters were instructed.
Wonderful. After a speaker finishes their speech, there will be a minute of silence for judges to cast their vote. Please keep silence during the time. And after the last speaker, Alina Loginova, finishes her speech, the judges will vote. They might have take a little bit more time to vote. And then the chief judge will, with the help of counters, will collect their ballots and will make us a sign that the contest part of the contest is over. So Evelina, I would like again to practice the applause with you. So next speaker is Elvira Mankirova. Elvira Mankirova, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of life? Evelina Mankirova. I'm sorry, I confused the name. Okay, with that I presume that the introductory part is over. And I ask Sergeant at Arms to take all the contestants except for Anna out of this room, please. Yes, Anna. Please, some applause for Anna. Anna Ilina. There's a quote by King Solomon. In much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. Would you agree with that quote? In much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. Anna Ilina.
Well, grief and sorrow, these things are very hurtful. You know, I think every one of you has experienced some bad things in their lives. Maybe some were quitted or were from their job. Maybe some got divorced. Maybe someone had experienced some breakups. And when you suffer and learn how to overcome these troubles, you get some wisdom, and it helps you in your future life. So, it's not easy, it's not happy this period of time, but when you overcome it, you are getting better, and your life is more meaningful and more happy. So the question is difficult and hurtful, but I encourage you, if you meet any trouble, just overcome it, step it over, and live a happy life further on. Thank you.
1 minute of silence is over, and I ask Evelina to welcome our next speaker, Irina Suvorova. Please welcome, Irina. Irina Suvorova. That's a quote by King Solomon, in much wisdom is much sorrow, and he who increases knowledge increases grief. Would you agree with that? In much wisdom is much sorrow, and he who increases knowledge increases grief. Would you agree with that? Irina Suvorova.
Dear Compass Chair, dear Chief Judge, dear club members, good evening. For me, the wisdom is the scope of our life experience. So, the more wisdom we have, the better for us. It's my view. But of course, we all have different life experience. We all have a different terms of life in our childhood. We all have a different behavior of our parents. And after that, in a young age, maybe we have we are lucky with our first love, and maybe not. And it's also our life experience. And in adulthood, we can remember everything that happens. And sometimes people who were lucky have not so much wisdom, not so much life luggage, comparing to who was not so lucky, who has different problems with diseases, with children, etc., etc. But what is better, to be happy or to be clever, to be wise? It's difficult questions. Thank you for it. For me, it's better to be happy. I would rather be very stupid, lazy, and unmotivated at all, but to happy and to be glad for every new day, to be happy just to see the sun and just to see my friends, and not to think about my sad life experience and about the problems in our world, about ecological problems and climate warming. So I agree with Solomon. Thank you.
1 minute for the judges, please. Denis Shevchuk. Denis Shevchuk. There's a quote by King Solomon. In much wisdom there is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrows. Would you agree with that? In much wisdom there is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. Would you agree with that? Denis Shevchuk.
How many smiling people do you see in Moscow? Not zero. There are some. There are some. As a rule, the dumber the person, the happier he is. So the rule does apply. Let me give you an example. Who watches TV here? Federal channels. Like the first, like the second, with Putin every time.
Sometimes.
Sometimes look at Yermek. Adil. Adil is happy. He's watching federal channels. He's happy. Propaganda works. If you listen to Navalny, then you listen to Putin, you have to think, oh, it's difficult. Do they steal our money? Don't they steal? Is Putin a saint person? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe Ramzan Kadyrov and Putin are our friends. But if you watch the federal channel, everything is clear. Putin is your leader. He saves you from the United States of America. He helps you out. He'll give you money. In 10 years, you will live perfectly. Ramzan Kadyrov is your next president. You should be happy about it. So I think it works. Because the people who I know who watch federal channels are really happy. They know everything about life. Americans are enemies, Putin is great. People who don't watch a lot of TV, they have to think for themselves. And they look miserable because of that. Watch TV channels, people. It's good for you. Thank you very much.
And I would like Evelina to welcome Ivan Sankov. Did she run away? Welcome, Ivan. Ivan Sankov. There is a quote by King Solomon. In much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. What do you think of that quote? I'll repeat. In much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Do you agree with that quote, Ivan Sankov?
Well, that guy who told this was really clever because he knew every one word and every one word in his speech, and I don't. So I think that his thoughts was about that if you have the power, you have also a responsibility. And I totally agree with that. And there were many cases when having the power without responsibility led to total disaster. I wouldn't talk about some countries, but also there are some companies which were folded after their CEO or directors having this huge amount of power and huge amount of leadership in this company started to behave inappropriate. And this is a great example of this, to prove this quote. Thank you.
And 1 minute of silence for judges, please. Please welcome our next contestant. Please welcome Nikolai Denisenko. Nikolai Denisenko. There is a quote by King Solomon. In much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Do you agree with that? Once again, there is a quote by King Solomon. In much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Nikolai Denisenko.
Very interesting subject, very interesting question, which generates lots of thoughts actually. My first thought is about my cat. When I look at my cat, I do know that my cat doesn't know mathematics at all. At all, because I try to educate him how to count, but it's pointless. However, when I look at him, he's happy. He is just happy. And he is almost permanently happy. To compare to myself, when I have education, happy, excellent student syndrome, university, school, and if you ask me whether I am happy, I would say sometimes, but not as permanent as my cat. That's why I think this question is the right one, and I would agree, because the less you know, the happier you are. And for example, if you remember the Adam and Eve, they didn't know anything, but they were happy. That's really interesting thing, and we can continue thoughts on this subject, but I think it's already red color. Thank you very much. Thank you.
1 minute of silence for judges. And I would like you now to welcome our next contestant, Ermek Toktagulov. Ermek Toktagulov. There's this quote by King Solomon: in much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Do you agree with that quote? In much wisdom there is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Do you agree with that quote, Ermek Toktagulov?
Okay, how it correlates knowledge and grief? I would say that the more the person is intelligent, the more he knows, the more he faces with some negatives of our lives, with some black side of our life. They overthink about that. They started doubting about what can happen in their life, in their personal life. So there is a one literature about Горе от ума. Because the less you know, the less you are constrained, the less limited. What some say that luck is with fools, because they don't care about anything. They just go, and sometimes it works. So I would say that the person should. It's not really that. It's not really correlates, but it depends on the person. He or she should understand that he should focus on the positive side of this knowledge, and understand that everything is not that bad in their life. So the tragedy can become a comedy. The same drama can be a comedy. It depends on the point of view, when you see the same things. Thank you.
And 1 minute silence for judges. I ask you to welcome our next contestant, Allah Gana. Allah Gana. There's a quote by King Solomon. In much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Do you agree with that quote? In much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Do you agree with that quote? Allah Ganova.
I think that there is something to agree with this quotation, but it is not the complete coincidence. Of course, sometimes much knowledge increases sorrow, and we have many examples from our everyday life and from the historical development of the mankind. But I think that more we can say about, we can say against this point of view, because still the role of knowledge is much more important, and it can be compared with some sorrow if it is produced. That's why I can't completely agree with this quotation, and I think that my main point is that much knowledge is much more important for the human development. What about the 10?
Thank you, Allah. Please welcome Alina Loginova. Alina Loginova. There's a quote by King Solomon. In much wisdom is much sorrow, and he who increases knowledge increases grief. Do you agree with that quote? In much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Do you agree with that quote? Alina Loginova.
So yes, it's interesting theme, interesting topic, and what I can say that a few of words from this topic I didn't understand. So yes, it's my problem, I know, but I try to find out some normal answer for this question. Okay, so yes, for me, if you speak about historical things and persons, maybe persons, I every time when I can thinking about it, I just imagine how it was at that time, and even if maybe if I can be in that time, what I should do on their roles, or if I can change it, if them can be in my times, if they be someone like he was in that time. So yes, I can't say that I agree with this or I don't agree. So, because I don't understand the topic, but I like to take part in this event. And I feel free and I like to speak, and I'm really glad that something funny in the end of this competition I made for you. Thank you very much.
Which may take a couple of minutes. And we'll wait for a sign from our chief judge. So the chief judge let us know that she has collected all the ballots. And now I would like to pass the stage to our general evaluator, Alla Aganova. Welcome.
Good evening, dear friends. I hope I can't annoy you still. That's why I'm here for a short time, because today we have had only 2 projects. But first of all, a few words about the general course of the meeting. To our great regret, we have started 2 minutes later than it was supposed. Our Toastbuster Yermek was very efficient. He introduced the rules, he gave the floor to the timer, and the timer was also very relevant to her duties. She explained her duties. Now I give the floor to the personal evaluator of Alina Loginova. Alina Loginova, it is Vika Moguchia.
Thank you so much. It's now a big pleasure for me to evaluate your speech, Alina. And I would like to start with the purpose of your speech. So actually, you had to present a speech and apply feedback you received to your previous speech. Right, but unfortunately I missed your last speech, because that's why I will try to do my best and to deliver you feedback which will be constructive and useful for you, so that you can learn maybe some great deal of it and improve your further speeches. So actually, I would like to start with some strong points from your speech and to make you some compliments you really deserve. So first of all, I really like your friendly and emotional approach, because you're smiling all the time, and you know, it always helps you to, let's say, win the audience favor and to help people to follow you, to be engaged. That's great. The second point would be the tempo of your speech, because your tempo is really great, and you know, it helps people not to be like boring, but really listen to you and to really like catch up with you. That's great again. The next point, which is also a strong point, is your starting question. It was not really a question, it was more statement, but you still tried to draw the audience attention to you, and you started with a question like, do you like traveling, guys? It is great, it's about work with your audience. Again, so actually, you had a very clear structure of your speech, and you had some visual aids. So you showed some clear pictures which were supporting the subject from your speech, and the pictures were really chosen very in a right way. They worked really supportive. That was all great. Now I would like to maybe I would dare to make some advices, to give you some pieces of advice which maybe would be challenging for you, but they might help you. So first of all, try to work more on your eye contact, you know, because you were under stress, it's all clear, but sometimes you were looking like outside, you were like looking at the ceiling, and it betrays your mood because it shows that you're under stress. try to really work with the audience and look into people's eyes. Maybe you choose one person and you concentrate your focus on this person, then you change your focus, and it shows the audience that you are really engaged and you help them to understand you. Okay. The next point I would give you advice. Another one would be to work more with your question, because it was kind of statement, because you just asked, do you like traveling, guys? And then sure, you like it, but people just want to really have a question and have a chance to answer, because if you give this chance to answer, they feel like more engaged and they feel like, oh, she's really like curious about our opinion. That's great, and it involves them more. Okay, so try to work with questions. And the last point is actually about the situation. There was a short break in the speech because of some technical issue, and you were like, oh, what should I do now? And you're like turning with your back against the audience. Next time, if something like this happens, just try to improvise. For example, you can just straight in front of your audience and say like, hey guys, we have a technical issue, but let's enjoy my look. What about this? And it will really like show that you are not under stress in such situation. You can improvise. Okay. So actually, there were my 3 advices for you, and I really wish you much luck for your future speeches, much enthusiasm and friendliness and so on, and just make progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your exact personal evaluation. And let me say a few words in addition. Alina, it was very interesting to listen to be convinced once again of the benefits of independent traveling without agencies and firms. But one more point. The structure was not explicitly defined. Sometimes there were ideas not linked directly with the main topic. So my suggestion for your future projects is to work on elaboration of the structure, to make it relevant to the main topic. And now the personal evaluator of Irina Suvorova is Nikolai Denisenko.
Dear Toastmasters, dear guests, dear Irina, thank you very much for a very relevant topic. By the way, the purpose of Irina's speech is to make a research and structurally explain the results of the research. And the research was about students, right? And all of us were students at school, at university, everywhere. And I think that's why it is very relevant for everyone. Now I understand even more why our club is 18 plus. Because if my son would know that it's not necessary to be excellent, that would be a very strong position from his side, and I wouldn't convince him to get excellent mark anymore. So that's very good knowledge, and I think information is very interesting. Because you shared with us the statistics, right? That's average person is more successful, and in terms of salary as well. It's good to know. I didn't know that. In terms of the items where I would like to pay more attention to, that's more technical thing. Number one is to make pauses, because you were a little bit faster than it should be at the stage. Again, the same comment which previous evaluator provided at the stage. When you ask something to the audience, either to give a chance to provide an answer or make a pause, because you ask, do you remember? That's about to get the low mark at school, and then you immediately start to continue. Or you said how to avoid a good student syndrome, and then immediately start to explain that it is concentration is the right answer and the right solution. Again, there was no chance to be involved from the audience to your speech to you. So that's number one. Number two is when you make a research, it would be good to mention where is the source, right? Because either the name of the author of the article which you are referring to, or you just can mention where it can be found, because that could be interesting for people to know. Projects about research normally should be referenced to the source. That's a normal thing. I think was the main points. Thank you very much, Irina. I'm looking forward to see you again on the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikolai. Again, just a few words in addition. One of the problems treated in your project, Irene, was the psychological problem of being a good student from the very childhood. As to me, it was my problem, because I was a very good student from the very childhood. And somehow it was reflected in my relations with my friends in class. But one more point, that you gave practical application of some problems treated to everyday situation. In general, thank you so much. It was very interesting to listen to. Now, thank you for your attention, and now we shall give the floor to our timer.
Well, everybody was very good today, and I think that nobody was out of time even, so that's perfect. My congratulations, guys.
So my role is over, as far as I understand. Now I pass the floor to you.
Chief Judge.
To Chief Judge.
If you want to have a role, ask Anna Irina. If you want to know something about photos and videos, please ask our officers Ivan Samkov and Alexander Sherbakov. This is my team. And see you in 2 weeks, the same place, the same time, Wednesday, the 16th of October.
Money goes.
And money, $100 for bananas and cookies, please. Thank you.